Okay, so there is a second way to simplify complex fractions, and it's using the ideas around fractions. So we know that with fractions, the main thing that we can do is multiply the top and multiply the bottom by something. So what we're going to try to do is find a common denominator between all four of my fractions, in my first case, and multiply the top and bottom by that common denominator. So, I'm going to start the same exact way. And factor x plus 3 cannot be factored, so I'm going to keep it. 2x plus 6 can be factored. I can pull 2 out, so 2 times x plus 3. In the denominator of my big fraction, I have 3 over 2. Minus, and I got x squared minus 9, so 4 over x plus 3, x minus 3. So what I'm going to do is try to find a common denominator between all four of my fractions, and then I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by that common denominator. So let's see. I'm going to look for what my fractions have in common. There's definitely an x plus 3 in common, so an x plus 3 is definitely going to be part of my common denominator. So I'll go ahead and put that here. I'm going to multiply both top and bottom, so I'll write it with both top and bottom. Okay. The 2 is part of two of my denominators, so I'm going to go ahead and put that as part of my common denominator. Now I'm going to look and see if there's anything missing. Got the x plus 3 already, 2 and x plus 3, so my numerator's there. Got the 2 from my denominator, and the x plus 3. Oh, I'm missing the x minus 3. So I'm also going to have to make that part of my common denominator. So when I do this, I'm not just multiplying times the thing that's closest to. There are two terms in the numerator, two fractions. So I'm taking it and I'm distributing it. I'm multiplying it times both parts of the top and both parts of the bottom. So let's see what happens. If I multiply it times both parts in the top, that means that I multiply my 1 over x plus 3 times x plus 3, 2, and x minus 3. And the x plus 3 and the x plus 3 will cancel. So I don't have a denominator there anymore. I just have 2x minus 3. Okay, I'm going to write the minus for this minus here. So now if I multiply my x plus 3, 2, and x minus 3 times my second fraction, the 2 will cancel, and the x plus 3 will cancel. So again, I don't have a denominator in that fraction anymore. I just have a minus 1 x minus 3. Same thing in the denominator. My 3 over 2, if I multiply that times the x plus 3, the 2, and the x minus 3, my 2's will cancel, and I would be left with 3 times x plus 3, x minus 3. If I multiply my minus 4 times it, my x plus 3 and my x minus 3 will cancel. So I said my x plus 3 and my x minus 3's will cancel, and I'll just have my minus 4 times 2. So now I only have one fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute and just combine like terms. So 2x minus 6 minus x plus 3 in the denominator. 3 times x plus 3, x minus 3. Well, again, I know x plus 3, x minus 3 are going to multiply to x squared minus 9. So I'll write that together. Minus 8, 4 times 2. Simplify some more. Let's see. X minus 3 over 3x squared minus 27 minus 8. So x minus 3 over 3x squared minus 35. And done. Should be what you got last time when we did this. Let's try the next one. Again, we're going to start off by factoring. So I'm going to have 3 over 3x minus 1. I cannot factor. It is just 3 over 3x minus 1 minus 1/5. That over 15x minus 5 I can factor. So 2 over 5 times 3x minus 1 plus 3 over 10. Okay, so now I'm looking for the common denominator. So again, I'm going to write out what they have in common, and I'm going to multiply top and bottom. As long as I multiply big fraction by the same thing on top and bottom, it's all okay. So let's see, they have a 3x minus 1 in common, so I'm going to include that. That will take care of this 3x minus 1, this 3x minus 1. These both have a 5, so I could include a 5, but I know I also need a 10 in there. Remember, if I'm looking for a common denominator between 5, 5, and 10, my common denominator is going to be the 10. It's going to be the thing that they all divide into. So I'm just going to multiply everything by 3x minus 1 and the 10. Again, this means I do have two fractions, so I'm going to distribute it. So I'm going to also multiply that first fraction in the top and bottom by 3x minus 1 and the 10. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to write my big fraction bar again. My first one, the 3x minus 1, will cancel, and I'll just be left with 3 times 10, no more little fraction. The second one, my 5 will go into a 10 2 times, so I'll be left with minus 2 times 3x minus 1. Third one, again, 5 will go into 10 2 times, and the 3x minus 1 will cancel. So I'll be left with 2 times 2. And the last one, the 10s will cancel, so I'll be left with 3 times 3x minus 1. So now I will have 30 minus 6x plus 2 over 4 plus 9x minus 3. And I should get 32 minus 6x over 9x plus 1. I can factor. I could factor a, let's say, 2 out of the top, but it's not really going to simplify, so I can also just leave it like this. Okay, let's try a third one. So we got the 5 over x squared minus 3 over x plus 1. Nothing can factor, so I'm not going to worry about factoring it. And same thing in the bottom, 4 over x cubed plus 1 over 2 minus 6 over x squared. Nothing can factor. So I'm just going to try to find a common denominator between everything. So if I look at my x's, again, common denominator is something that they divide into. Between my x squared, x cubed, and x squared, what would they all divide into? Kind of like the 5 and the 10. We knew that they would divide into a 10. They're all going to divide into that x cubed. So that's going to be my x part of my common denominator. My numbers, I write that 1 over 1, so I got fractions all around. I just have a 1 and a 2. So the 2 would be part of my common denominator. They would both divide into the 2. Okay, so I'm going to distribute that to every part. 2x cubed, 2x cubed. I keep doing this just on the top because hopefully then you can see to do it yourself on the bottom. So if I do this, again, I can write out my big fraction bar. Let's see, x squared will go into x cubed, and I'd just be left with an x, so I'm going to have 5 times 2x. X would go into x cubed, I'll be left with x squared, so 3 times, that's a minus, sorry about that, we'll erase that. There you go, minus 3 times 2x, and 1 into anything really doesn't change it, so plus 1 times 2x cubed. And the denominator, let's see again, hopefully you can see it yourself to distribute it. So my x cubed would cancel my first one, I would just have the 4 times 2. The second one, the 2's would cancel, I would just have plus 1 times x cubed. And the third one, x squared would go into x cubed, I'd be left with an x, so I'd have minus 6 times 2x. Okay, so if I go ahead and multiply it out and simplify, 5 times 2x should give me 10x minus 6x, so that should actually simplify to 4x plus 2x cubed. The denominator, oh shoot, that was a squared. Never mind. Okay, here, let's just get rid of that. X went into the x cubed. I was left with x squared. So this should have been x squared. I knew it was off somewhere. We'll just simplify it here then. So 5 times 2x is 10x minus 6x squared plus 2x cubed. The denominator, 8 plus x cubed minus 12x. Again, I can factor that top, I could factor out an x, but it's not really going to change much. Okay, let's try the last one. 3 over x minus 2, I can't really factor, so I'm just going to leave it as 3 over x minus 2. In the denominator, 2 over x plus 3, I can't really factor, but I can factor x squared plus x minus 6. That will give me x plus 3, x minus 2. So now I'm going to look for my common denominator, and I'm going to multiply top and bottom by it. So my common denominator, x minus 2 has to be in there. That's in 2 of them. And x plus 3 has to be in there. That's in 2 of them. So if I multiply this, okay, I'm going to draw my big fraction bar. My numerator, my x minus 2's will cancel, so I'll be left with 3 times x plus 3. In the denominator, my first term, the x plus 3's will cancel, so 2 times x minus 2. Second term, they both will cancel, so plus 4. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify this out. I'm going to keep my top factored. The reason I'm going to keep my top factored is because when I simplify, I always want a factor to simplify. So this is already factored, and it's not being added or subtracted to anything, so it's already factored in, really simplified, combined, everything. The denominator here would have given me 2x minus 4 plus 4. So I'm going to get 3 times x plus 3 over 2x. So I kept my top factored. Didn't help because nothing could be cancelled. But in case that happened to be a 6 or a 9 or whatever, I could have easily then crossed stuff out. Okay, that's it. Hopefully one of the two ways of doing this made sense.